This is the book of Amos, chapter 5, verse 18. How terrible it will be for you who long for the day of Yahweh. What good will that day do you? For it will be a day of darkness and not of light. I like to give all praises and glory and honor to Almighty Yahweh, Yahweh Shai. I like to give all praises and glory and honor to Almighty Yahweh, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the men of GMS who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. This is Brother Boaz on the set once again. How terrible that day it will be, okay? That day is talking about when the so-called white man, Esau, falls out of power, okay, and the Israelites come back into rulership, okay. The so-called white man's going to fall out of rulership, okay. That's what the Bible is talking about when it says the day of the Lord, okay. The so-called white man falling out of power and rulership. The book of Amos chapter 5 verse 19. It will be like someone running from a and a bear meets him, or someone who comes home and puts his hand on the wall and and to be bitten by a snake. The day of Yahweh will bring darkness and not light. It will bring a day of gloom without any brightness. Okay, so that day of the Lord is talking about when a so-called white man falls out of rulership and power. Okay, Armageddon. Okay, when everything goes thermonuclear. Okay, when they're going to get tired of the so-called white man and they're going to burn her with fire. Okay, that's what this is all about. Okay, they're going to get tired of the white man. Russia, China, India, Pakistan. Okay, Britain, France. Okay, they're gonna drop missiles on America. Okay, they're gonna annihilate this place. Okay, and if you want to be saved and sanctioned out of this thing, you have to come back into who you are while there's still a chance, while you still can. Okay, the day of the Lord is when the so-called white man falls out of power and rulership. Okay, and these white people get eradicated, and the ones that are left, they're going straight into slavery. Okay, that's what this is all about. Okay, that's what the Bible is talking about. Let's get it. The book of Psalms, chapter 149, verse 5. Let Yahweh's people rejoice in their trumpet and sing joyfully all night long. Let them shout aloud as they praise Yahweh with a sharp sword in their hand. The sharp sword, that means we're going to be doing a lot of killing, okay, when this kingdom of heaven comes, okay. A killing instrument in our hand, okay. Verse 7, to defeat the nations and to bind their people, to bind their kings in chains and their leaders in chains of iron. They're going to be having iron shackles on them, okay? The nations are going to go straight into slavery. And the Israelites are going to take the throne, okay? They're going to possess the kingdom. That's what this is talking about. First, starting with the so called white man, he's going to fall out of rulership to punish the nations as Yahweh has commanded. This is the victory of Yahweh's people. Praise Yahweh, okay? So that's what this is talking about, okay? The dark sentences of this Bible, okay? The so-called white man falling out of rulership and power, okay? And the Israelites taking the throne, okay? Coming back into who they are, the posture. Reason why we're not ruling right now, we went off, okay? We went off. Yahweh Shai had to punish us for our sins, okay? And he's a righteous God, okay? He had to punish us for our sins. Now our punishment is up. And that's why you're seeing the so-called white man steadily going down in his setup, okay? This man's kingdom is going down. There's nothing left in America, okay? America's in debt. Everyone's buying up America. America's destroyed, okay? The only thing left for America is nuclear weapons detonating over this country, annihilating this place. Okay, America is destroyed. The book of Daniel. Okay, one moment. The saints took the kingdom. Okay, we're going to take the kingdom. That's what this is about. Give me a second. He was. Let's get the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 11. While I was looking, I could still hear the little horn bragging. That's a so called white man and boasting. As I watched, the fourth beast was killed. That's America. And its body was thrown into a flame and destroyed. The other beasts had their power taken away, but they were permitted to go on living for a time. Okay, that's when the so-called white man is going to be put into slavery. Okay, he's going down. Then the saints took the kingdom. Okay, one moment. The saints took the kingdom. Book of Daniel. The book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 18. And the people of the supreme power receive royal power and to keep it forever and ever. Okay, it came a time where the saints took the kingdom. Okay, we're gonna take rulership after the thermonuclear destruction. Okay, then we get beamed it up into what you call a flying saucer or some so-called UFOs. Okay, and while this place is going to get eradicated, okay, this place is going to be destroyed, okay. There's nothing left here in America but destruction, okay. That's the only thing left for this place. It's destruction. The book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 22. Then the one who been living forever came and pronounced judgment in favor of the people of the supreme power. The time had arrived for Yahweh's people to receive royal power. Okay, so we're going to take rulership after this thing goes down. Okay, after the so-called white man be destroyed. Okay, after he gets annihilated. The book of Isaiah chapter 2 verse 11. A day is coming when human pride will be ended and human arrogance destroyed. Then Yahweh alone will be exalted. Okay, so Yahweh Shai alone was going to be exalted in that day. Okay, it's the so-called white man's going to get eradicated. He's going to be destroyed. So you have to come back into who you are while you still can, while the doors of mercy are still open. On that day, the Yahweh Almighty will humble everyone who is powerful and everyone who is proud and conceited. Okay, so he's gonna humble everybody that is proud, and that's America. Okay, America is the most proudest kingdom. Okay, they believe that they would never get taken out of power. Okay, but that's not true. Okay, this man is going down. Don't be fooled. Okay, this man is going down. His whole setup is going to be go up with nuclear fire. And if you want to make it out with your life, if you want to stop, don't play with your life. You have to come into the names of Yahweh Shai, the supreme God. Okay, the supreme being, so you can make it out with your life when this thing goes down. Okay, so you don't get eradicated with the so-called white man when this thing finally, when this transaction finally goes through. The book of Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 6. Run away from Babylonia. Run for your lives. Do not be killed because of Babylonia's sin. I am now taking my revenge and punishing it as it deserves. So Yahweh Shai is punishing this place. Okay, this place is going to get arrested. That's why this song's the thrill is gone. There's nothing left in America. Okay, America's going to be destroyed and eradicated. Okay, and along with these so-called white people, okay, they're going to be decimated. Okay, they're going to get eradicated. Okay, and if you're an Israelite, you want to come back into your nationality and who you are while you still can. Okay, while the doors of mercy are still open, okay, unto you, okay, so you don't be destroyed. Verse 7, Babylon was like a golden cup in my hand, making a whole world drunk. The nations drank its wines and went out of their mind. Okay, Yahweh shall use America. Okay, Yahweh used America to make all the nations go drunk out of their minds. Everybody wants to be like America. Okay, they're striving for what is going to be destroyed. Okay, they're striving for what's going to be destroyed. Babylon has suddenly fallen and is destroyed. Mourn over it. Get medicine for its wounds. Can it be healed? Foreigners living there says, we tried to help Babylon, but it was too late. Let us leave now and go back home. Yahweh has punished Babylon with all his might and has destroyed it completely. Okay, so this America is destroyed. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, verse 58. The walls of the mighty Babylon will be thrown to the ground, and its towering gates will burn down. The work of the nations is all for nothing. Their efforts will go up in flames. Yahweh Almighty has spoken. Okay, so the striving of the nations is basically all for nothing. Okay, this man is going down. Okay, don't let yourself be killed with the so-called white man. Okay, and all these other nations. Okay, this place is over. Okay, Yahweh Shai is going to eradicate this man and set him up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed. Okay, you have to come back into Yahweh Shai. Okay, this man's going down. He's he's being brought down every day. This man's kingdom gets chipped away a little bit more and more. The book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 2. Yahweh says to Edom, I will make you weak. Everyone despises you. Okay, so that's why Iran is able to sustain themselves, if you will, over America. Okay, Yahweh Shai has made America weak. Okay, America's not strong as it used to be. Okay, the last 20, 30 years ago. Okay, no, America's weak. Okay, and everyone hates the so-called white man. Okay, all over the world because he bullies everybody. Okay, everyone hates the so-called white man. Okay, because he bullies the world. Your pride has deceived you. Your capital is a fortress of the solid rock. Your home is high in the mountains. And so you say to yourself, who can pull me down? Okay, so the only one in this setup is saying that is America. America thinks that no one could ever bring it down. They think that America is going to survive forever, but no, America's not going to survive forever. Okay, it's on its way out. Okay, the so-called white man's days are over. Okay, it's all he's going to be annihilated once again. He's going to be destroyed. Okay. And if you don't want to be caught in a riffraff, okay, in a crossfire, okay, you have to come back into who you are, your nationality, in reference to these holy scriptures, okay? That's what this is about. You have to come back into who you are while you still can. Verse 4, even though you make your home as high as the eagle's nest, the eagle is a symbol of America, and so it seems to be among the stars. yet I will bring you down. Okay, the so-called white Yahweh Shai is going to bring down the so-called white man. Okay, he's going to be destroyed. When thieves come at night, they only take what they want. When people when people gather grapes, they always leave a few, but your enemies have wiped you out completely. Your allies have deceived you. They have driven you out from your country. People who were at peace with you have now conquered you. Okay, that's talking about Germany, France, the British. Okay, they once was at peace. Now they're gonna drop missiles on this place. Those friends you ate with you have laid a trap for you. They say to you, where is all your cleverness he had? Okay, that's why America's the witchcraft is not working no more. Okay, the witchcraft. Okay, the so-called Illuminati, these high satanic rituals and Satanism to keep this setup is going, but it's not working no more. On the day I punish Edom, I will destroy their clever men and wipe out all their wisdom. The fighting men of Teman will be terrified, and every soldier in Edom will be killed. Okay, they're going to get now. They're going to get eradicated. Okay, then once again, when Yahushua gets here, all nations mourned. Okay, all nations mourn when Yahushua gets here. Okay, because he's going to be eradicating these so-called white people. Okay, and putting the rest of the nations into slavery. They're going to be going into straight slavery. Okay, this thing is going down, and you don't have that much time left. Okay, until they pull this internet. Okay, and they pull this truth off the internet. Okay, you don't have that much more time. That's when the prophet's tongue will cling to the roof of his mouth. Verse 10, because you have robbed and killed your relatives, the descendants of Jacob, you will be destroyed and dishonored forever. Okay, they're going to be dishonored because they're going to be in slaves, and they're going to be as slaves in the kingdom, building up our kingdom. Okay, you should not have been glad on the day of their ruin, when you should not have laughed at their distress, Judah. Okay, let's start over here to the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 12. You should have not gloated over the misfortune over your relatives, Judah. Okay, they gloated since we went into slavery. Okay, they gloated. You should have not been glad on the day of their ruin. You should not have laughed at them in their distress. You should not have entered the city of my people to gloat over their sufferings and to seize their riches on the day of their disaster. Okay, so you should not have to basically gloat over the destruction of our people. Okay, when we went into slavery, when Yahushua put us into slavery. Okay, when Yahweh put us into slavery, they gloated. Okay, they took things too far. Okay, that's why this so-called white man's going to get no mercy. Okay, he's going to be eradicated. The so-called white man's going to get eradicated. The book of Ezekiel. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 36, verse 1. Yahweh says, Mortal man, speak to the mountains of Israel and tell them to listen to the message which I, the sovereign Yahweh, has said to them. Israel's enemies gloated and said, Now those ancient hills are ours. Prophesied and announce what the sovereign Yahweh was saying when the neighbor nations captured and plundered the mountains of Israel. Everyone made fun of Israel. So now listen to what the sovereign Yahweh, says to the mountains and to the hills, all the governments, and to the brooks and to the valleys, to the places where you left in ruins, and into the desert cities, and to and which plundered and mocked by all the surrounding nations. I, the sovereign Yahweh, have spoken out in the heat of my anger against the surrounding nations, especially against Edom, with glean's contempt that captured my land and took possession of its pastures. So those, it's all coming out now. Those so-called Jews and fake Jews, they're Russians and Germans, okay? Those fake Jews over there, okay? Yahweh Shai say, speak against them. Verse 6. So prophesy to the land of Israel and tell the mountains and the hills and the brooks and the valleys, and I and the sovereign Yahweh saying, in jealousy and the jealousy of my anger, because of the way the nations have insulted and humiliated you, I, the sovereign Yahweh, suddenly promised that the surrounding nations will be humiliated, okay? They're going to be humiliated, okay? They're going to be humiliated, okay? Yahweh Shai is going to destroy this man, okay? That's talking about the day of the Lord. That's talking about the day of the Lord, okay? This man's going to get eradicated, okay, on the day of Yahweh. Nuclear weapons, nukes, are going to annihilate this place. The book of Yoel, chapter 1, verse 15. The day of Yahweh is near, the day when the Almighty brings destruction. What terror that day will bring, okay? So the day, that's when the so-called white man falls out of power, okay? That's when he finally loses steam and falls out of power and rulership, okay? On the day of Yahweh, okay? And America's going to get eradicated and destroyed, okay? That's what this thing is all about, okay? When America is destroyed, okay? Okay, one moment. These two nations are mine, book of Ezekiel. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 35, verse 2. 35, verse 10, Salakia. You have said that the two nations of Judah and Israel, together with their lands, belongs to you, and that all the possessions them, even though I, the sovereign Yahweh, was their power, okay? So when he put us in slavery, okay, he eradicated the so-called Latino and Native American Indian, okay, this devil's gonna have to pay for everything he ever done, okay, and you're seeing it now happen, okay. You seeing the so-called white man's posture go down. Can't you see the so-called white man's going down? Okay, can't you see the so-called white man's going down? His setup is destroyed. Okay, the gas prices are going up. He can't win with Iran. Okay, he's going down. Okay, World War III is going to eradicate them. These so-called white people, they're going to get eradicated. And you have to come back into your nationality while you still can, while the doors of mercy is still open. That's what this is about, the day of the Lord. Okay, when the day when Yahushua nukes this place and burns her with fire. Okay, burns her with fire, okay, and destroy it. The day of the Lord will come like a thief, okay? It's going to come suddenly on a beautiful day. The day was like the land was like the Garden of Eden before it. And at the end of it, it's like a desolate wasteland, okay? Destroyed. Verse 11. So then, as surely as I, the sovereign Yahweh, am the living power, I will pay you back for your anger and your jealousy and your hate towards my people. They will know that I am punishing punishing you for what you did to them, okay? They're gonna know, okay, the low birth rate, okay, the so-called white man's gonna, the women don't want them no more, okay, they want Jake, okay, they're gonna get eradicated, okay? That's why you say you have to come back into who you are, your nationality, while you still can, okay, while the doors of mercy are still open, okay, so you don't be destroyed. That's why it says those that hated her, let's get it. The book of Revelations. Let's turn to the book of Revelations. Revelation chapter 17, verse 16. The 10 horns you saw, and the beast will hate the prostitute. They will take away everything she has and leave her naked. They will eat her flesh and destroy her with fire, okay? Thermonuclear destruction, okay? Destroying this place, okay? Eradicating us, these so-called white people, okay? And destroying them with all the other nations that you cling unto this man. For Yahweh has placed in their heart the will to carry out his purpose by acting together and giving to the beasts their power to rule until Yahweh's words come true, okay? That's what this is about, okay? Until Yahweh's words come true, okay? The book of Hebrews, the book of Second Peter, Salakia, the book of Second Peter, chapter 3, verse 10. But the day of Yahweh will come like a thief. On that day, the heavens will disappear with a shrill noise. The heavenly bodies will be burnt up and destroyed, and the earth and everything in it will vanish, okay? That's what this is about, okay? That's what this thing is about, okay? You have to come back into your nationality, okay? You're going to hear me keep saying that, okay? So you don't get eradicated and destroyed, okay? The book of Luke. The book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 34. Be careful not to let yourselves become occupied with too much feasting and drinking and with the worries of this life, or that they may suddenly catch you like a trap, for it will come upon all people everywhere on earth. Be on watch and pray always that you will have the strength to go safely do all those things that will happen and to stand before the Son of Man. Okay, so pray that you have the ability to stand with the Son of Man when he comes, okay? When Yahushua finally gets here. Pray that you have the ability to stand, okay? Because when this man comes out with that mark of the beast, he's going to put great pressure on you, okay? It's because he knows he's going to get destroyed. That's why he's going to put great pressure on you, okay? He knows he's going to get annihilated, okay? He knows his setup is going to be destroyed. Once again, the day of the Lord is when the so-called white man falls out of power, and the Israelites take the throne. So-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians take the throne. Okay, that's what the day of the Lord is talking about. Okay, that's what the Bible means when it says the day of the Lord. Okay, and hopefully you'll edify. I like to give all praises and honor and glory to Almighty Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, Shalom.